Okay. Hi, everyone. Um, Establishing a community advisory board managed youth health ambassadors program in low socioeconomic research communities. I'm Zani from UCT Lung Institute, and I'm here to tell you about our youth engagement and development program. So, what is a youth health ambassador? You may be wondering. So, youth health ambassador is someone who positively represents and speaks for research, for health, and for social responsibility. It's about encouraging peers, first and foremost, but also the wider community to take ownership of health and social concerns embedded in the community. And really, youth health ambassadors are important points of contact for their peers so that they can share information and be guides to discuss sensitive and difficult topics that adolescents don't have a space to engage with adults with. And really, these adolescents identify as change makers. And that means that they are actively taking creative action to address community concerns, that they are committed to the greater good, and that they hope to bring about change in their communities. Okay, so just a little bit of background on how this program started. It was an idea, and we started in 2018 engaging youths, and it started in a local high school in one of our communities, and we already had an existing relationship with this high school, and the school identified a group of learners. And really, this was formative research in the sense that I went in and listened to what the needs are of the adolescents and how we can tailor this program to what they want and what is important for them. It worked well. We did that for 2 years, but being linked to a school means that there was some red tape in accessing the adolescents. There was a barrier in terms of space and time, which I noticed. And at the same time, I was really noticing the amazing work that CAB members are already doing in the community with youths. And I was really inspired by that and thought, how about we use the potential that we already have in CABs, people who are already part of the research agenda and who are committed to research. How about upskilling them and building capacity so that the youth program can be managed and led within the community from a CAB member. So this really allowed for the youth program to be better integrated into the community itself instead of being integrated into the school. It's just going to play. Will you give it to me every time? Can we make it all night? Don't stop all up on my body, babe. Touch me like a summer night. You feel like a holiday. All night, we don't stop here. So why do we engage, and why is it important to develop youths? So youths are really an important subpopulation in research, and they have an important role and a right to be involved in decisions that affect them. Adolescents have agency in their development, and they have the power to shape the course of their own lives, but they also have the power to shape the well-being of the wider community. So the goal of this program is really to upscale existing CAB members to lead a focused community-based youth health ambassadors program that will identify and mentor the next generation of adolescents and young adults. And so the first one, you will see CAB empowerment, and that's Shell is our youth team lead, and she's been a CAB member since 2017, and she has been trained and she has successfully led a cohort of adolescents. The other one is positive peer influence. Now, research has shown us that adolescents are more easily influenced by their peers than they are influenced by adults. So they would rather listen to their own peers than they would listen to an adult. So upscaling and giving adolescents the knowledge and the skills to engage with their peers means that there's more power in engagement. And then really strengthening the community ties. It's focused on adolescents to peers, but we've seen that the impact is so much wider than only on youths. They actually inspire the wider community, and with their exciting approaches, adults want to know more. And really this whole approach creates a network of allies and advocates, people who trust in research, who speak for research. And the goal of this program is really about sustainability. So when we as a research site move out of the community, or not out of the community as a whole, but just out of this youth program, that there are people who are capacitated and able to lead the program without the research site being part of it. And the other part is to really create something that can be replicated in other low socioeconomic research communities. So the educational plan for this is there are two parts. One is focused on the youth health ambassadors, and it's run across over 1 year. Adolescents 8 or 9 in a cohort, and they are between the grades of 8 and 11. And just matric was excluded because we know it's an important year and we need them to focus on their work. And whatever we do, we don't want to schoolwork first. But really focusing on that age group, it has worked really well. So the sessions are structured that there are 8 formal sessions and 8 informal blended learning sessions. So a formal session and a blended learning session will happen every month over the course of 8 months. And the sessions happen in the community, as you can see, outside if the weather is fine, but if, not, they make do and find a space just to be together and to engage and inspire each other. An important aspect is also the formal training provided by the site, learning support. So they come to the site, see what we do there, they get the training and understanding about TB and research, but we also invite investigators, as you will see on the photo, to come and engage with the children, to answer questions, and just, be there and share any information that the adolescents find interesting or that they want to know more about. Team building is an important part. Really having fun is an important part of this program, and giving agency to youths where it's not up to the site or the youth team lead to say, we want to do this outreach or we want to do an engagement there. It's youth initiated, so they get to decide what will work for them and how they want to engage their community. And we just had our first lovely graduation ceremony in the beginning of the year for last year's cohort. And they invited a few family members and in a community hall where they did a presentation and talked about what they learned, what the program meant to them, and we acknowledged their participation through a certificate-given ceremony. So the educational plan for the youth team leads, the CAD members, it's really a training of the trainer approach, which means it's not something that's also once off, it's something that's continuous throughout the whole program. Meaning that the team leads will receive formal training before the program starts, but before every session that they have, every workshop that they have with the youths, they come to site and meet with myself, and we sit, we go through the sessions, we plan, we make sure that we are on one page if there's any concerns or difficulties. So that is really for support and planning. Also, WhatsApp line that's open for continuous support with the youth team lead. Training and resources, the site provides everything, flip charts, pamphlets, educational material, post-its, everything that's needed is supplied to the youth team lead who then runs the workshops with the adolescents. The Trainers Toolkit is part of this grant that we got now to formalize this, as that we are hoping to create like a blueprint, a trainer's manual that trainers can keep, which will guide them through the sessions, give interesting icebreaker activities, all the material that they would need. And this book or manual would be able to be used by other engagers as well. So how is this program monitored and evaluated? I think the most important thing is to acknowledge the fact that Continuous participation is voluntary. These are adolescents, and I'm sure they have lots of other fun things to do on a Friday afternoon, but they choose to be here. We usually, I would see, we start off with 8 or 9, and by the end of the program, there would be 6 or 7, which I think is still quite good. And the other thing is the completion of the home learning. We do give them homework, things that they need to find out, maybe interviews, maybe information that they have to come back with, and them completing that is their own choice. And also the engagement with their peers, it's not forced upon them. They initiate it, they give the ideas, and then it's up to them to implement it. And we have seen that they are very keen to actually go out and do the engagement with the peers and the wider community. We also monitor access to local health services, especially because there's such a big gap in adolescent health services in the clinics. And it's really about connecting this youth group to the local clinic in their community so that they can partner for events and discuss and consult with each other about how to make adolescent services more friendly and open. And then also qualitative feedbacks, that's interviews from the team leads and interviews from the adolescents themselves. Another thing that is measured is we measure mental well-being. So mental well-being, why is mental health a part of this equation? And really adolescence is a critical period of development, and it's also a critical period for mental illness or mental health difficulties to develop. So by targeting this specific sensitive period, we can try to reduce those mental health effects. And research has also shown that opportunities for social and emotional engagement are protective against the development of mental health challenges. So we use 2 scales, 2 questionnaires, which is the Hope-Hearth Index and the Rosenberg Self-Esteem Scale. So the Hope as a psychological construct is a determinant of mental health, mental wellness. And then self-esteem refers to someone's overall worth and sense of personal value. And the higher self-esteem you have, the more equipped you are to deal with mistakes, and the more secure you are in and sure you are of yourself. And this is important because self-esteem, low self-esteem, is actually also a risk factor for mental health difficulties. So these 2 questionnaires are repeated when they start the program, and then it's repeated at the end. So let me just check that I didn't miss something. Okay, so why did the site decide to, as a research site, why is it important for us to engage youth, adolescents? So I said adolescence is a sensitive period of development in the human lifespan, and what happens at this stage is critical for self-development. And adolescents are a vulnerable group, and especially in our context, if we think about adolescent girls who are the most vulnerable for HIV infection. And we know that we can't talk about HIV, and TB and HIV goes together. I heard they were cousins, but I say they're the terrible twins because 60% of people who have TB are also HIV positive. So really the diseases are interlinked, and by addressing one, we also address the other. And we have seen as a research site how investing in this population of youths is also an investment into the wider community, that in return is also an investment into the research process itself. So these are just some photos of some activities that we did, the youths coming to site, doing the training, and really me emphasizing the importance of engagement and having fun. They want to go out, they want to set up outreaches and events and create a space for them to be in the community, to apply what they have learned. Just some more photos. Okay, so I talked about why is it important for our research site, but I feel like this is also important for TB research as a whole. So maybe our focus is not on youth or adolescent participants at the moment, but if we think about children are the future of tomorrow, that is especially true in the case of adolescents, who in a short few years will be the adults that we are trying to target and trying to engage. So by starting now, we are cultivating this relationship, and we are making investment for future growth, for building capacity. And it's about strengthening ties with the communities to build meaningful partnerships that will positively influence the research process. Okay. So in conclusion, a CAB-managed youth health development program benefits CAB members, it benefits the youths, the wider community, and even the research staff involved in the site itself. Relationships with communities are dynamic, they are long-standing, and they need to be mutually beneficial. Upscaling CAB members and engaging youth through skills development and a leadership program shows the investment of research institutions into the communities that we call our partners. Thank you.